All right, hockey fans, here we go. Game 3, Bruins, Leafs. Leafs surprised everybody in Game 2 by getting better as the game went on and taking it. So we're at 1-1 now. No Nylander for the Leafs again tonight. They keep saying he's going to be a game-time decision, and that is going to be a very interesting situation to view from afar if and when the Leafs get eliminated. If they lose this series and Nylander doesn't get on the ice, I'm sure there are going to be people that have questions. I understand that they want to keep whatever injury it is hidden right now. My guess has been, I've said this before, this is my completely unprofessional guess, but I think it's a groin. I don't know why I think that, other than if it was upper body, you figure he'd go out there and gut it out if he could. If it's lower body, to keep you out of a series like this, you got to figure it's pretty bad. And if it didn't come from a hit or something like that, I don't know. Maybe he pulled a groin, or maybe one of you. I've been asking on my streams, but nobody has been able to tell me any report that has given any specifics. So point is he's out again. So there's that. Bruins go back to Swayman, which I think that's a good move. Me, if I was the coach, which are not likely to be, but if I was, I would, if Bruins win tonight, I would go back to Swayman. I think he looked better, and he's probably the future anyway. I'm not knocking Omark, but they already won a game with Swayman, and then Omark lost. If you win with Swayman tonight, I say you go again with them. That would be my call. Other than that, what we need to see from the Leafs tonight is can they stack it, right? Game 1 was bad. Game 2 was better. It got better as the game went on. So which Leafs team are we going to see tonight? Obviously, they're at home, so that's probably going to give them some juice. And I find it, that's playoff hockey, right? In Game 1, we all kind of looked at it and said, the Leafs going to win a game. And here we go into Game 3, and if the Leafs can keep it close or tied, they'll be one play away from taking a 2-1 series lead. And I'm sure that does not sound very enticing to Bruins fans. In terms of the Bruins, I guess just figure out what it was that you ate before Game 1 and eat that, or don't eat what you had before Game 2. Because, how can I put this? The Leafs aren't the most intense. They're not the most intense team in the league, okay? And they looked better. They didn't look great, but they looked better. But Boston, you didn't even match that level of intensity. You did not even match a level of intensity that was just kind of like, okay, that was a decent game from Toronto. You see what I'm saying? So pick it up. I know you're going to be on the road. My Panthers play a lot better on the road as it is. So maybe Boston. Come on, guys. Last thing I'll say is, Panther fan, I'm still wearing the Boston hat because Kyle and I are going back and forth. But the truth of it is that I want 7 games, and I want them all to go to overtime. So if Boston scores, I want Toronto to score to tie it up. If Toronto scores, I want Boston to score to tie it up. I want ties and overtimes and lots of overtimes and a 7-game series to give maybe Sam Bennett and Gustav Forsling a chance to get completely healthy. I know Forsling's not out, but still, there's that. All right, I'm going to enjoy this. If Toronto takes the lead in this series, social media is just going to be spectacular. All right, so it's no score after 1. A lot of physicality, lots of hits, lots of banging. I love it. It's a good hockey game, even though Boston just they don't look right. They kind of, if you want to know the truth, they kind of look like they did last year against the Panthers, where they won Game 1, and they just must have thought, that's it, that's the whole series. And it took them a while to re-engage. Now, they did beat the crap out of the Panthers in Game 3 and 4, but that's not what's happening out here on the ice, except for the fact that Swayman is not allowing anything through. Samsonov has played pretty well. Boston's out shooting them, but it just feels like Toronto is outworking them. You're going to assume that that would lead to a lead, but so far it hasn't, and Swayman can be an equalizer. A lot of these teams with the stud goaltenders, a lot of their great defensive numbers with the goaltenders. So Toronto, I can't say Toronto needs to pick it up or do anything too different. But you got to find a way to get pucks at the net and beat Swayman. Move on to second period. All right, so it's 1-1 after 2. Up until the moment that Toronto scored, the general consensus on the live stream was it was rough. It was rough. And then Toronto scored, and that seemed to wake Boston up as if they were like, oh, what? Oh, that's right. We got to play a game today. So the second half of the second period was pretty good. Now, the goal that Boston got to tie the game. I don't know what to say, Leaf fans. I mean, Marchand just basically takes Bertuzzi, and I mean it's if there's a tripping, if in the video in the rule book, if there's a picture or video of tripping, they would show what Marchand did to Bertuzzi. No call, pucks in the back of the net, and then to add insult to injury, the Leafs had a power play going, and they called Bertuzzi for roughing. Maybe in November that was roughing, but this time of year, I've seen a half dozen hits worse than that tonight that didn't go called, if not more than that. So I'm not a big blame the ref guy, but Leaf fans, I do believe in that period, have a couple of reasonable gripes. Meanwhile, Boston, other than the one goal, they've shown a little bit of life, but it's I can't find the word to express and explain and describe how they're playing. Like it's November. I don't feel or see playoff intensity from them. They are hitting, but there's nothing behind it. There's no energy behind it. There's nothing. They just skate up and be like, asshole, and then they just skate away, and it's just like there's nothing behind what they're doing. Swayman's keeping them in the game, and maybe we get to overtime here. I did ask for these two teams to beat the crap out of each other and get to overtime. So maybe this is just the universe bringing me what I manifested. Let's move on and see how it goes. No overtime for us tonight. 4-2 Boston. Toronto does all the work. They did all the work. They get the game tied. And then less than a minute later, Marchand, and if you watch that play, Kyle, my son, we streamed, if you watch the Marchand goal, if you compare it to the Carter Verhaeghe overtime goal against Boston Game 7 last year, very, very similar. Very similar plays. Puck comes off the board from behind and just boom, short side. And Toronto had some chances. They did have some chances. They couldn't get the loose pucks. Swayman would make the save. And, oh, man, so it's 2-1 Boston. So the whole home ice, well, not home ice, but obviously now, Toronto's going to be in a situation where they've got to win their second game at home, just keep the series even, to keep it from having Boston have an opportunity to close it out in Game 5. That's how fast these suckers go. Now, in terms of the Leafs, man, all I can say is this. All of the years that I watched the Panthers lose in the playoffs, I'd come here, and like I said, I would feel like, I don't think these are the guys. Huberdeau, Barkov, I don't think these are the guys. You could see the flashes, and there would be periods of dominance, but kind of like what Matthews did tonight. That it's not his fault. Okay, but at the very end, when there's like 50 seconds left before the empty netter, and Matthews is coming into the zone, and whether it's his fault, not even saying it's his fault, but he tries to do too much, or he has to do too much because he doesn't have the supporting cast, lose the puck, empty net, game over. And it just reminds me of how the Panthers were before they were ready. It just seems like Toronto's just like almost and almost and almost and almost, but just find way to lose instead of finding ways to win. Now, I'm not taking away credit from Boston. They played just a good, solid game. But to be honest, in terms of if I had to, I wonder what that deserve to win-o-meter would say, because I kind of feel like Boston stole one here. I kind of felt like Toronto had the better of the play, not by much, but that doesn't feel like a game like Toronto lost. You know what I mean? Like if you're in the locker room, if you're the coaching staff, it's like, what do you do? It's like, well, just play our game. So, in terms of goaltending, Swayman now has 5 wins against Toronto this year. I don't know what they're going to do, but like I said, personally, I would just stick with Swayman for a little while. I know the goalies, they've been used to going back and forth and everything like that during the regular season. The playoffs are different. It's kind of difficult. You kind of want one guy to be in a little bit of a groove. But other than that, man, it was a good game from the time that the Leafs scored on. The first half of the game, again, it was just like, I'm watching with one eye, we're in the chair, and I'm just like trying to keep the eye open, But it got good as soon as the teams stopped being overly physical with each other, and they just decided to play hockey, right? Now, penalty-wise, it was what it was, is what it was. Tavares got called for a hold towards the end, which nullified the fact that they had the net open, and they didn't show it. Like, they showed the result where, I forget who it was, but the Boston player was already going down, and from what I saw, I didn't look like holding, but they didn't show the whole replay, so I don't know. I'm sure maybe one of the other outlets will have the whole thing, so I can't comment as to whether or not I thought it was a good penalty or not, but the point is that you kind of figure it must have been really egregious for them to call it with a minute left and Toronto being down. So there's that. And, Samsonov is playing well enough. None of these goals are really his fault. It's just, I don't even think the Leafs are getting outplayed. They're just losing. They're just losing the games instead of finding a way to get a stranglehold and finding a way, right? Like I said, I'm a Panther fan. I'm spoiled, okay? At 3-2, 95 games out of 100, if we need a goal in the last 5 minutes, if Verhaeghe, Kachuk, Reinhart, Barkov, somebody's going to put the puck in the back of that. You know what I mean? And I just feel like especially with the Leafs, they might be missing Nylander by now. You know what I mean? The fact, like a game like tonight, where you needed somebody to step up in those last 5 minutes, is one call. It's one. It's not like you get down 2 or 3. It's just like somebody make a play, and they just can't get it done just yet. They're just not at that point yet where there's more than Matthews to pick them up. Marner has kind of just been out there. And with Nylander gone, there's nobody else that's really been noticeable. You know what I mean? Bertuzzi is noticeable out there, very, very, very active, obviously, but without scoring, somebody's got to put the puck in the back of the net in those situations, and it's just not happening right now. And with Boston's goaltending, I'm still hoping for a 6 or 7 game series, but Toronto, if you got to win the next game, right? Because if you give Boston both in Toronto, then the only hope that you have is to do exactly what Florida did last year, which is come back and beat them after being down 3-1. So, and yeah, you guys saw all the magic that took us, so good luck. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Kyle and I'll be back tomorrow doing the Panther game. We'll be live at noon. We'll be live 1 hour before the Panthers game 3 between Panthers and Lightning. And Pete just keeps on coming, man. I'm enjoying doing this every night. I do hope, Toronto, that y'all, mean, I know I'm wearing the Bruins hat, but we're just having fun with that here. I want a good series. Let's get this sucker tied up, get it to 7 games, and we need some overtime. That's the other thing I was rooting for. Just like, come on, guys, at least get us to overtime. Couldn't do it. Just puck would not go in. All right, see you tomorrow.